Look up from your telescope, take me on this journey home. I don't wanna wait no more.
What's good, y'all? It's your good sis Erica Bain back again with another amazing All-American video. And in this video, I am breaking down Season 1, Episode 3. Let's get into it. Y'all, I'm so glad you are enjoying the breakdowns and me taking it back to the basics and going back to Season 1 and talking about each of the episodes. The first 2 video breakdowns I did, the reception has been amazing. And of course, I'm coming to you with breakdowns for every single episode in Season 1. So if you are new here, go and check those out. They'll be linked in the comment section down below, as well as the cards above. And be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new here. I'm Erica Bain and I post new All-American videos every day, sometimes twice a day, and you should really join the tribe and hit subscribe because we got the best All-American community on the internet. I said what I said. Okay. All right, getting into episode 3. The episode opens with Jordan and Spencer getting up early in the morning so they can get to practice. The team is being put through the ringer because of the last episode and their performance in the last game. It was not up to par, so now they are doing 2-a-days. They're trying to get on the same accord. They definitely have a lot of internal struggles, and I really love how they use football to parallel a lot of the things that were happening with the main characters in this series. Like, All-American is just really just top tier. Like, Season 1 is, I think, by far my favorite season of All-American, just because it did things in such a beautifully nuanced way, and it was so complex, but yet very, very universal and relatable. We get to see the argument amongst the team in the locker room, and a theme of this episode is like Spencer doesn't belong, right? So we already know that this is something that he's grappling with. He's had to uproot himself out of Crenshaw and move to Beverly Hills so that he can play football here, and now he has to live with them because Jordan outed him for not living in Beverly Hills, and there's pushback. Like, we see Asher being Asher and making a statement of he don't even belong here. They're doing all of this just because of him, because he lost the game, and this gives us a moment for Jordan to step up and take some of the blame, take some of the brunt, and this is where we get to see the pivot happen for them. So we know that they made amends in episode 2, and the Bakers decided that Spencer belonged with them, but this is where we actually get to see Jordan put his money where his mouth is and actually take accountability as well. And this episode, for the most part, with it starting out showing the melding of Spencer into this world, we also get, by way of Jordan going to Crenshaw to seek Spencer out and try to build this connection and build this bridge, you get to see Beverly Hills now invading Crenshaw. So I love the way they were able to do that. In this episode, early on, we also get to know a little bit more about Coop, and we get to meet her mom, and then we also get to meet Patience, her love interest, which we have seen prior to this, but we don't necessarily know the full backstory. And the strong theme of this for Coop is that she has not come out yet. This is kind of like her coming out episode and being honest and transparent with her mother, and then us being able to see all of the stress and strife that actually caused. And I'm glad that they really talked about this, because there's so many queer kids who are dealing with identity and dealing with really settling into their sexuality and understanding it and figuring out fluidity and all of this stuff that they're doing alone, because so many parents are so old school or so close-minded. And I think even though Coop's mom is raggedy in this episode, I think that they needed to have the conversation. I'm glad they did in this way so that we can see this misstep, and then ultimately throughout the episode, this is Erica popping out, because of course we've seen this already, having a way of really dialoguing about how do you fix it when you do make this mistake. How do you fix it? Now, it don't get fixed in this episode, but I love that this storyline starts. And in this episode, we also see Angry Man Spencer. Season 1 was all about Angry Man Spencer. The first part that we see of him being angry is him reacting to the little meme or video that they created about Spencer fumbling the ball in the last game, and they actually put it as a 40. The underlying racial and classist tones that were happening in the school was just emotional terrorism at its best, and I think Asher should have gotten beat the hell up plenty of times, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why and how he has yet to be beat up, but I'm gonna mind my business though. Billy is working overtime to really get the team on board and together, and we get to see this little exercise that they're doing, and Asher just takes that opportunity to go at Spencer. And this is a moment where we get to see Jordan really stand up for Spencer and really try to fix this divide that he also helped create. And ultimately, it's not just the team, right? Spencer is operating like a man on an island. He's not necessarily allowing himself to be a part of this group or to assimilate fully into this team. And we get to see that play out in this episode. And I love it because this becomes a really strong episode for Jordan and Spencer's foundation for their relationship. Now, speaking of foundation of relationships and friendships, in this episode, we finally get to see Olivia and Layla interact on a one-on-one basis. So we get to understand where they were, because from the first two episodes, we don't necessarily understand where these girls fit in each other's lives. We know that they're kind of familiar, but now estranged, but we don't know the full backstory. And in this episode, we get it. And I love how they did this, where they were cutting back and forth between the kids in Beverly Hills and then to Spencer speaking with Coop on the bleachers about, not fitting in, about missing home and all of that. And she's the one who actually makes a call to him of like, well, how much are you actually trying? How much effort are you putting forth to be a part of this? Because part of it is them, but then you also got to be mindful of part of it's you too. And again, I just think that they just masterfully blend all of these themes and stuff together and visually take us through these stories, because we're cutting back and forth between Spencer and Crenshaw, and then Olivia, Layla, and then they get joined by Asher and JJ in Beverly Hills, and we just get to see how these friends interact and interact differently. One of the things that is very strong from the very beginning for me is when we see these friends interact, it's very different. So in Beverly Hills, I definitely get the very superficial vibe when they're interacting with one another, but when Coop and Spencer talk, they talking about the real, they talking about their feelings, they talking about their past traumas, their childhood traumas, they get into it. And one of the things I think this series does well is they allow, as Spencer like kind of infiltrates the Beverly Hills scene in the world, he brings that vulnerability and he brings that depth with him in a lot of his interactions and friendships. And shout out to Jordan for staking his claim and like, your mom already said I could stay at this cookout, so I'm going to hang here. Jordan was on a mission in this episode to really try to bring Spencer into the fold and understand him better. And this is probably one of the better times that we get to see Jordan, because a lot of times he operates from a place of privilege and elitism, and it kind of annoys me. Layla and Olivia transition from doing their homework at the coffee shop to going back and watching a film that they can use for their homework, and then we really get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on with them. Layla reveals that she actually requested for Olivia to be her partner because she, I guess, missed her. That's not fully clear in this moment. We're not super clear on exactly what happens to them, but by the end of the episode, when we get Olivia realizing that this is the anniversary of Layla's mom's death and they used to go and honor her and to create space for Layla to grieve and to feel supported, and Olivia's totally sad and frustrated with herself about missing that, and then she goes to be with her at Elysian Park, we actually get a better understanding of like, okay, these girls actually had a friendship that was grounded in something real. They actually supported each other, and we know, but Layla doesn't know, that Olivia slept with Asher, which is what's keeping her away from Layla. But after this episode, it's like we hope that she's able to navigate the secret, but while also still showing up and having her friend, because Olivia, that we have seen in these first two episodes, also operates alone. If she's not with Spencer, she's just kind of on an island on her own, because the people that she know of and that she's in this world with in Beverly Hills, she kind of has herself removed from. My favorite scenes from this episode definitely tie into Jordan's storyline being in Crenshaw and being at the cookout, and even watching Spencer return the favor of like standing up for Jordan in moments where Chris and Cam are coming at him and just being really, really reverse classist and judging him based off of his privilege and his money and his light-skinnedness. This ultimately turns into them having a battle on the football field where they call their teams, and it's kind of like Crenshaw versus Beverly Hills unofficial, and this kind of sets the tone for what we're going to see through the rest of the season. I believe we get this preview initially, like, while Chris and Spencer were best friends, and I do think they are kind of best friends, but they're having tension in this moment because Chris, I think, is resentful. He's resentful of Spencer leaving. He's resentful of Spencer getting this opportunity to go on and do better and do more in all of what he's given, and he has to be able to work through that. And as a teen, you don't know how to process that. You kind of feel angry. So this is what that looks like. And I thought that they handled this beautifully. Like, even the whole tension around Spencer needs to give back his Crenshaw ring because he's no longer there. And it's so much ego and so much pride. And it's like watching these little black boys go back and forth is beautiful because they're expressing their emotions, getting it out. And because they choose to do it on the football field, they do it in a healthy way. Now, the episode can't end, the night can't end before they get pulled over, Spencer and Jordan, I'm speaking, by the police officers. And it interrupts the conversation that Jordan is having with Spencer about, showing up and the team showing up for him and he needed to be a part. And it's almost like, okay, we handled one thing and now we're thrown into another because Jordan is not aware aware of his blackness, right? Like and when I say that, I know it sounds funny saying it, but he's not fully aware of his blackness. So all he did in this moment was driving while black. They get pulled over by the cops, and he acts like a young black man who's not aware of his blackness, and he has this privilege and this air about him that we don't necessarily get the luxury of having, especially if we're interacting with people who have a racist or bigotry bias against us. And that's honestly what we get to see. To see how we transition out of that one issue with the teen on teen and then into this police issue very seamlessly, I was just like, oh my God, this episode was written so beautifully. It's truly chef kiss, because this is also a moment where Spencer and Jordan are able to connect deeper, because Spencer is trying to support Jordan through this very embarrassing, humiliating moment of harassment with the police. And ultimately that moment, as well as the football team showing up for Spencer and playing in that unofficial game, is what becomes the bridge that ties these two together and allows Spencer to come to a moment of realization and accept his part in his alienation and step into the team. And then we also get to see the team embrace him and own up to their things. And it's so beautiful to see, because it's finally like we have a moment where, okay, they're about to do this. Now they're going to be clicking on all cylinders as a team. And it's unfortunate because this visually gets paired with Coop and her coming out to her mom. So while Spencer is having this big triumphant moment with the team and finding his place amongst this place where he feels like he has no place, Coop is losing her place at home, where her mom can't accept her for her sexuality, and it's heartbreaking to see. Probably my second favorite scene of the episode is the conversation between Jordan and Billy, when Jordan questions why he never talks to him about the police in the same way that Spencer has had people talk to him about police. And Billy has to be honest about hoping that the life that he's afforded them, their wealth and their privilege and their proximity, has given Jordan kind of like a get out of racism free card almost. And he was hoping that he didn't have to have the conversation because they live in a whole different world. But that experience with the police shows him that he does have to create a bridge for Jordan to know where Billy came from and where they come from, and to be a little bit more in touch with his blackness and realize how other people might see him in the world. And that brings him back to Crenshaw, where he brings him to the barbershop so that he can, you know, get to know where Billy was, where Billy came from, and some of the people who knew Billy beforehand. And my third favorite scene of the episode was watching Coop arrive at the James house. She's broken because her mom basically put her out, and we just see Grace and Spencer embrace her, and it's like this is her home as well. She's welcome, she's loved, she's accepted. It's so beautiful. And before the episode ends, Jordan starts his detective bag, y'all. He sees pictures of Grace and Billy, and his wheels get to turning, and this is the start of the beginning of the end of Olivia having a chance to season 1, with Jordan getting this dumbass seed planted in his head in this moment. But that is my breakdown for episode 3. If you're new here, I'm Erica Vane, and I break down All American. I'm talking about the characters, the episodes, plot, story, my ideals, all of it. And you should really join the tribe by hitting subscribe. Right now, I am going back to the basics and breaking down episode 1. This was the episode 3 breakdown. If you missed 1 and 2, I have them linked in the description box down below. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because I know you want to. I know you love it here. And go ahead and let me know what you thought about episode 3 in the comment section down below. I'm going to reply to every comment, and I want to know what you think, so go ahead and drop your comment down below. Stay tuned, because I am posting new videos for All American every day, and you don't want to miss it. I will also link my full All American playlist for you right here if you want to catch up on any other videos or any other thoughts that you might have that I might have already talked about. You can check that out in our playlist, and then I also have a separate playlist specifically for season 1 if you miss out on any of my other breakdowns from season 1. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad that you're here, and I love talking about All American and making this content. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow on my next amazing All American video. Bye.